Okay. My friend doesn't like my broken blind. I don't care. Inflation says that it's not important to fix that. Um, anyways, I know I was supposed to do this around 8 o'clock, but I have some commitments. So I wanted to get this done early. I just wanted to get this video and this perspective out of the way. And if you catch it, definitely you can catch these on the replay. It on YouTube after I do them. So I wanted to talk about Black History Month. And obviously it's February 1st. We're kicking off. And I would say prior to this year, and I'm being completely honest, Black History Month has not meant a whole lot to me. It has not meant a whole lot to me. I've found that the repetition of Black History Month throughout the years in my experience has been very, very redundant. Very, very redundant. And I will tell you about some of those redundancies. So Black History Month for me has never been this exciting month to just explore myself or self-discover or any of that. Like really, it's always been a month that's kind of just been in the month of February that just shared my birthday month. But other than that, Black history has never really been a month that I look forward to. It's not that I dread it. It's just that it's never been a month that I look forward to. And I've often analyzed why Black history has always just been this like shadow of a thought in the month. And I think it's because, like I said, the redundancy makes it just something hard for me to really be excited about every year. This year is different because I have school age kids and they're going through the same cycle of Black history, learning Black history as I did. And they're probably even maybe going through even more extreme versions of Black history. So my experience with Black history growing up, and I mentioned this on a recent LinkedIn post because, like I said, I have school age kids who are responsible for doing Black history projects. And what I notice about whether it's my high schooler or my second grader, they get a list of these Black history superstars, Black history heroes. And I typically ask my kids, who, and it's usually one of the usual suspects. And I don't say that to be disrespectful to all of the heroes within Black history existing in America. Because when you think about it, Black history is really American history. It is a fabric of American history throughout its start to where it is now. Black history is a fabric of American history. And I think that's where I've always had kind of a weird disconnect too, is because, we can segment everybody's history off into a month so that everybody in the country can appreciate, those particular ethnic groups. But really at the end of the day, these individual group histories are a part of the overall American history. So when we're talking about Black history, even though History Month has been even globally, it's really nonsensical because Blacks globally have had a different historical experience. And not only that, you know, the focus on what we talk about during Black history during in America is just so far removed, in my opinion, to the original intention of Negro History Week. So, Carter Woodson, I'm pretty sure that, when he came up with the idea of Negro History Week, it was a way, and historically what it was written, is that his intention was to highlight progressive Black America. So he wanted, a moment in time where we could stop and appreciate the progress of the Black segment of America. And there was a lot of progress in Black America, even post-slavery. They don't talk about the fact that there were individuals that owned land post-slavery. There were a lot of Black landowner owners. There were a lot of individuals who had really good slave owners who taught them, educated, and got them prepared for living as free men in the United States. You know, one of the individuals that the liberals really hate to kind of give decent credit to is Jefferson Davis. You know, obviously he supported the Confederacy, but when you look back at how he treated his slaves, and I actually recently saw an interview with one of his ex-slaves that was filmed, I believe, in the early 40s. Jefferson Davis, you know, he discovered, I think it was Ben Montgomery, one of the neighboring slaves, he could read. And from that point on, he allowed for all of his slaves to be able to read. They took up skill trades. He basically equipped them with all of the necessary skills that they would need to be free people. And they don't really talk about that a whole lot because they want to focus on us thinking about slaves just in chains. But if people are so championing, if these people are such champions of understanding the entire Black history, then they really do need to present it, you know, in its entirety, not just focus on the lens of what one group did to another group. So the reason why I have never cared for Black history is because we've always had these slaves or post-slaves being thrown at us, these civil rights beacons. And just recently, they sprinkled in Obama, okay? But there is a plethora of Black history in between even civil rights that I think is notable for Blacks to entertain and understand that this month is about highlighting Black progress, not where we've been in the negative context, which is often how Black history is delivered to Black people so that they maintain a marginalized way of thinking about themselves. So Black history for me, like I said, has always been gray because it's always been redundant, riddled with the same individuals from a very terrible time in both Black and American history. And it's always been, these are the people. So this year, I actually challenged my second graders teacher to allow her to do a progressive Black American for her history report. And I challenge all Black parents who want their kids to have a progressive mindset about themselves in the context of history to challenge some of these Black history reports and force your kid's teacher to understand Black Americans beyond the usual suspects. I asked my daughter, I said, well, who'd you guys learn about? I was like, let me guess, Harriet Tubman, Harriet Tubman, Booker T. Washington. Matter of fact, her report was supposed to be on Washington. And don't get me wrong, Booker T. Washington is one of my favorite, you know, Black American history figures. He promoted Blacks educating themselves, and he promoted the idea that an educated Black is a useful Black in an American social contract that required more and more useful people. And so he really focused on Blacks educating themselves. And so I didn't mind my daughter doing Booker T. Washington because I felt like he had very fundamental conservative values that are useful for Black people. However, there were progressive Black American experiences beyond Booker T. Washington. And one of the things that I really don't like is the fact that when they're highlighting Black inventors, they always want to focus on the fact that they were slaves, not on the fact that they did this great thing and that they inspired other Black inventors, like the person that my daughter is doing her Black History project on, Lonnie George Johnson. I do this with my young ones. We have to dive deeper than the offered up standard. Absolutely. You have to expose your kids to progressive Black Americans. So my daughter, her Black History project, Lonnie George Johnson. Lonnie George Johnson is a nuclear engineer today, but he has brag points in propulsion engineering, and he was also an Air Force veteran. He served his country. He worked at NASA as a propulsion engineer. He has over 133 probably plus patents. But this man's notable was the Super Soaker and the Nerf technologies. A lot of people, I grew up playing with Super Soakers, right? I grew up playing with Super Soakers. I grew up playing with Nerf. And all that time in my history of playing with those toys as a kid, I never knew that I was playing with an invention that by a black man, that a black man had the patents on, that a black man made over $500 million, I believe, off of that invention and probably counting. I did not know that. I didn't know that. And how valuable that would have been to me as a young black child to know that I was playing with an invention by an individual who was black. And not only was I playing with this invention by this black man, kids of all colors and races globally played with this invention by Lonnie George Johnson. And these are the type of individuals that I lobby for our children learning about during Black History just as much as the usual suspects. What's up, Sammy? What's up? I do this with my young ones. Okay, we got that one. Why do that back then? No, we did not know that back then. And imagine how inspired. See, here they go. When more people come in the stream, the cyber demons start messing with my stuff. I got full bars, you demons. I know what y'all doing. So, but what's up, Tiff? What's up, Sammy? Hey, Marshall. I'm glad you were able to catch this. But yeah, with Super Soakers growing up, we must have had, I don't know how many different models of Super Soakers and Nerfs growing up as kids. Never knew growing up that a black man had the patents on both of those technologies. And like I said, you know, when they want to, and I'll go into you're at generation. I mean, you're talking about a technology that's been out, a toy that's been out for over 30 years, a modern Black American invention that has brought joy to people of all colors. And they want to suppress this man so that they can focus on the usual suspect, slaves and civil rights leaders. And it's just like, you know what? Civil rights have been fought for and won. And Black Americans who actually were smart enough to leverage the rights that were fought for and won were great. They did great things. Lonnie George Johnson, he's one of my favorite American inventors and entrepreneurs because he never hid behind the lens of race as a reason for him not to be great. And he ran into obstacles getting that Super Soaker technology funded and getting investors to believe in this particular toy. And honestly, the Super Soaker, someone was telling me today that a company called Intertech actually created one of the first water gun technologies. But Intertech made a water gun that looked so real that parents weren't comfortable with their kids playing with those guns. So Lonnie George Johnson came on the mic with the Super Soaker, and a lot of parents were more comfortable with that. And he basically took their product off, basically just took the market with the Super Soaker. But Black kids need to understand that they have heroes in Black American history beyond civil rights leaders and people who are always trying to fight for the Black struggle. In between and even beyond, there are Black people who have really difference in this country in more ways than one. And we really need to start making sure that our kids understand those people as well. And so when we talk about the original purpose of Black History or Negro History Week that end up being federalized into Black History Month, you know, we have to think about the fact that every February, we should be highlighting progressive Black Americans, not historical Black pains, transgressions. That is not what that original purpose of Black History Month was about. I'll give you another one. One of my favorite, I would say she's one of my, I would want to say she's an unmet role model, is Ursula Burns, who is also a very, very successful engineer. She was the CEO of Xerox Corporation, one of the first women to actually CEO, and I'm talking not just Black women, but one of the first women, period, to CEO a Fortune 500 company. And she helped turn Xerox around. And she was an engineer. She was an engineer. These are progressive Blacks in modern Black American history that we really should be focused on our kids have a right to know about so that they can inspire themselves beyond the Black struggle. Glad you're back. Thank you, Tiff. I've been really, really busy. Work has gotten busy. My kids have got all these projects and little knickknack things, so I just been busy, busy, busy. But I wanted to get this one out because I think that it's more of a perspective video, and you guys chime in and tell me what your thoughts are, because this is just not me just talking. But I've always felt like Black History Month has always been redundant. And up until this point, where I realize now I have children. I have a high schooler. I have an 11th grader. I have a second grader, right? And then I have a little dude that's in preschool. But I have an opportunity as a parent to leverage Black History Month in the right way. And I think every Black parent has an opportunity to put Black History Month in a perspective where you can own the Black narrative. I think the Black History Month is the month where Blacks can pretty much, talk about our perspective, talk about our growth, but also talk about the Black narrative and how we can continuously promote it with progress and not this pangs and transgressions of long ago. This backs why we need to do Black history every day. We need Black history to be delivered in context. We need Black history to be delivered in context. For example, Lonnie George Johnson, who my daughter is doing her report on, he was inspired by inventors like Otis Boykin. Black American inventors like Otis Boykin, Lattimore, Carver. These modern American Black inventors were inspired by Black inventors from before. So that's how you keep Black history in context. We wouldn't have these people today if those people didn't go through the things that they went through, if they weren't able to and be great beyond the social constructs that said that they weren't supposed to be great. And that is how Black history is supposed to be delivered to newer generations of Blacks, not hanging on to what we went through as an excuse for why we can't be great today in modern American society. I agree. Black history was supposed to highlight our inventions, engineers, scientists, and art. Exactly. But what happened when the federal government hijacked it, every time they hijacked it and they want to present something as a symbolism to Black people, they're going to deliver that symbolism how they want. And if you look at what the school systems are doing, you would think of all these progressive Blacks that they could highlight outside of slaves, that list would be long for our students to entertain when we get to Black History Month in February. But that list has the usual suspect with Obama and maybe Oprah sprinkled in as if they are the only modern day example of Black progress that we have. If you want to be real about it, whether you like the music or not, Beyonce should be on the Black History list, right? That list should be long as hell. Beyonce should be on that list. Oprah should be on that list. Tina Turner, maybe Whitney Houston. Anybody who was a trailblazer in what they did in their respective field should be on the Black history list for Black students to entertain. It should not be comprised of slaves and post-slavery people and civil rights leaders. It just should not at this point. And I think we do the Black kids a disservice allowing it to continue to be that way. Hell, Rihanna should be on the Black history list. There are a lot of progressive Black Americans that our school districts need to know about, and Black people should be lobbying for these progressive Blacks to be an option for your kids to talk about during Black History Month. Black history is everything. Many everyday items we use and enjoy. It should be in the curriculum. Again, absolutely. I think that Black history, the curriculum of Black history should be the succession of where we've been, what we had to go through to get where we are right now. I think that it would be a lie to say that Blacks are in the same condition in America than we were 100 years ago and even 50 years ago. It's just a lot of the modern American issues that Blacks face are issues that everybody in this country face, but you have people who have enough money to maintain narratives that make Black people feel second class and make us feel like a lot of these economic injustices are only on us. It's not. The one thing that Black people need to continuously be lobbying for is a better education system, not one riddled with pangs and transgressions, but a Black progress. And even down to the entertainment space, we need to be lobbying for our narrative to be rap sluts and criminals. Because Black people, the fact that we have a whole month committed to our progress, and yet the front faces are the industry representatives for Blacks in the entertainment space are now being progressed into thugs and sluts. We have to be able to step back during this time and reflect and say, you know what? We are better than this. I'm almost done with my book, guys. But chapter 3 of my book talks about the Black image and images of Blackness, and how these images are Blackness that are portrayed in modern American culture and historically, and even these images are being portrayed by Blacks themselves for the coin. They do a disservice to Black history. They do a disservice to the Black image. They do a disservice to the Black narrative, and Black people keep buying into them. And that's the saddest part of all. Black Americans keep buying into the very, very things that makes us look marginalized, keeps us marginalized, and keeps us influenced into marginalizing behaviors. And then we want to perverse our history out of context so that we can mask over why we have not been accountable for the things that we need to be accountable for. Yes, success. And it's not the struggle, and I mentioned this in another video. There are a lot of Blacks that are addicted to the Black struggle. Okay, hang on. I feel like I've been talking all day. There are a lot of Blacks, and Black Americans need to start acknowledging this, that the Black struggle is a profit center. Okay, it's a profit center. It is a profit center. And there are a lot of self-interest Blacks who suffer from what W.E.B. Du Bois called that Black duality, where you're dealing with that person you want to be and the social construct of the Black person that they say that you should be and think. A lot of these people deal with that. And the only way that they can get past the duality, the Negro duality, is to sell they Negro brothers out into narratives and ideas that are not useful and paint Blacks to be a certain way. And that's just the bottom line. So Black history, to me, is an opportunity. It's an opportunity, and this is why I now care about Black history, because I look at it now as an opportunity for Blacks to control the Black narrative, take control over the image of Blacks, the mindsets of Blacks, and really understand the psychological conditioning that is happening to Blacks as a result of taking their history out of context and constantly leveraging it to make excuses for modern day issues that are more political than race driven. I miss your sound mind. Thanks, bro. I've been really busy. I work at a Fortune 500 company, so I'm out here getting coins. I'm out here leveraging my skills and capabilities in the capital system, because anybody who follow me, that I am a capitalist. If I got a skill, capability that I can make money off of, I'm about to get that money. I'm about to get that money. I am not an anti-capitalist at all. I love the capital system. Capitalism is not the problem. And, here's the thing Black people don't realize. Black people don't realize that right now they are being psychologically conditioned into being anti-capitalist. They are being psychologically conditioned into not participating in the capital system, because A lot of people have a self-interest into not wanting them to be there. There are people who have learned that the capital system works for them. I have a client, he just started, investing, basic investing guy, and he was doing his own thing. I had to help him out because he tried to go rogue. He made some money options trading. He flipped $250 into 80K in 2 weeks on options, right? They'll scare Black people out of making that kind of money, understanding how to work the system and understand how the capital system work, how investments work. They're gonna scare Black people into getting into that because they're not trying to have Black people learn how to get that kind of money in 2 damn weeks. They're gonna have you working for that 80K for about a year's salary. But that's just to say, that Blacks are being psychologically conditioned into believing certain things about themselves and their capability. And this has been an ongoing conditioning. Critical race, if you're a champion of it, I'm sorry, is nothing more than a psychological conditioning. It's nothing, they're doing nothing less than doing exactly what our own Black parents have done to us, which is psychologically condition us into believing that the American social contract is not for us because of our skin color. My mama told me, she was like, Angie, you got 2 strikes against you in this country. You're Black and you're a woman. So that means you have to work extra hard. And I bought into that. And then when I go to school and I learn about Black history, basically Black people want nothing but to treat like shit, right? So as a Black person, what am I to think about myself? Am I going to be motivated to acquire a skill that has me compete in a system that has psychologically conditioned me is not for me? No. But that's what a lot of Black people buy into, and they don't realize that education, understanding good economics is how, what they don't talk about is the CEOs. That American Express had a Black CEO. A lot of that's a Black history right there. Black CEO, right? At American Express. They never want to talk about the Blacks doing well in business. They want to show y'all these beacon politicians. Kamala. The hell did Kamala Harris ever do for Black people besides lock them up disproportionately to other people? They want to dangle politicians. Obama, 8 years and he walked out the healthcare president. Now, don't get me wrong. Obama is an integral part of Black American history. He is. He is. He is. However, let's not just blow the dude up in glory, because Obama did not walk out with deliveries. The deliveries that the ongoing conversations that Black people are continuously having, we're expecting for him to walk out of. And we need to be real about that. True, a lot of our elders limit the youth, telling them the negative sides of life and not the progress. Right. Black elders, and I talk about the generational rhetoric, whether they intend it or not, they relayed their American experiences out of context. And what they did was, in relaying those experiences out of context, what they did was they did cause a lot of Black people, the next generation of Blacks, to go into work and feel like they had to wear a mask on or they couldn't bring their whole selves. Why? Because I've been conditioned from being at home to believe that if I come into a corporate space, I'm going to have to not bring my whole self. I've never not brought my whole self to work. Never. I actually, I work at a financial firm. I think I cursed like maybe, I made a mistake and cursed like maybe 6 times. The lady told me I cursed about 6 times in our interview. I interviewed with like 6 people, all white. But why would I be afraid of somebody's white skin? Do you want to make this money with this talent or not? If not, then we can both keep it moving. They decided to move forward with me. And 2 years later, here I am still in the game, and they doing right, and we working well together. But that's just to say, I wouldn't have never transitioned into the financial sector, had all of these arguments not kind of came up and became real time to me, where I kind of challenged myself. Okay, if that's a white man's world, let me see how they play over there. That's me right now. It's not a white man's world. It's your world, and it's the world that you want to make it. And honestly, I don't have any problems making it. You know what I mean? I don't have any problems making it. Am I on the progress of my career to being able to secure the lifestyle that I want to live? Absolutely. Because I didn't take this job on no tokenism stuff. This is before George Floyd and everything, that my career, this was a pandemic move for me. Because I was like, shoot, smart Black people know. Look at your environment. If they don't look like they gonna sustain, we out of there. We're going to the person that can sustain the most. I was in the automotive sector. They were looking kind of crazy. I knew the financial sector would sustain. But that's just to say, surviving in this world doesn't have anything to do with your race. It has everything to do with how you scheme. The capital system is for people who are big schemers. And yes, not everybody is cut out for capitalism system. It will eat the weak alive. And everybody should know that. And I hate to, co-sign a racist, but Darwin is absolutely right. Life, nature is about survival of the fittest. Everything is about survival of the fittest. It's about what you can deliver. If you are delivering and you can stand on your deliveries, then if your company is not willing to elevate you based on your deliveries, then you hurt their pockets. Because people don't realize the rock stars are not expendable in a company. The worker bees are. If you're a worker bee, hell yeah, you expendable. But the rock stars are not expendable. And if they're not happy and they're ready to walk, they might be walking with big time customers too. Trust me, ain't no company that stupid. I don't care what color that rock star are. They're going to make that motherfucker happy. Excuse my language. But they're going to make that rock star happy. And I've seen it several times where I've had high level Blacks with strong deliveries, and something did not shake out their way on some dumb shit. They were ready to walk out. They was like, no, we can't get rid of Dante. Dante that made us like $14 million this year. We'll get rid of Craig. Craig isn't expendable. And Craig might be a white dude. All right. When it comes to capitalism and business, it don't matter what color you are. It's what you put on the table. It's what you put on the table. I have never had a problem. I got a white boss right now. We kick it well, and my thing is I partner with my manager. So it's not like I'm feeling all intimidated when I see his ass or when he called me. It's just like, okay, what's up? What you need? I even call my manager bro, like, bro, this don't make any sense. You know what I mean? Because I know what I can do for you. And if something's not working right, in order for me to be able to make money for you, I need you to address this. I need you to partner with me, and I need you to be straightforward with that, right? It's amazing how many people of all colors, will allow their manager to talk to them like children. I do not like that. I don't care what color you are. You will not talk to me like you're one of mine. If I am not a product of your procreation, don't talk to me like a kid. But I'm respectful, because my whole thing is this: if I'm deficient in anything in my job, then show me where I'm weak, and I'm going to be conscious of that weakness, and I'm going to get better. But a lot of people go into the workplace with this mindset that the elders put on them: wear a mask, don't bring your whole self. I had a conversation with this lady was talking about she had to wear a mask at work, she can wear her whole self. And I was like, you passed these people's interview. Why aren't you bringing your whole self to work? Who told you to wear a mask? Who in did the organization inspire you to wear this mask, or did you have it on before you came? And she admitted that she had the mask on before she even walked into the organization. That's why some of these diversity inclusion things are garbage to me, because they want to focus on this victimhood thing without looking at the holistic picture and the root cause and the organizational psychology versus the individual psychology. Shonda's mama told her that white people are going to be against her working in that environment. So Shonda went into that environment scared as fuck of the white people. All the while, these white people might have been nice and wanting to elevate her and work with her. I'm going to tell you, I've worked in the higher education space. I worked in the automotive space. I work in the financial sector. And I will tell you, no shade to my people, but the people that have elevated me, have got me up on shit, got me business, have been people that did not look like me. And that's the real thing. And so, when Black people want other Black people to be on these struggle trains of thoughts, it's like, we don't even look out for each other in the right spaces. So don't even come at me with that shit. Who delivers matter. Talk is cheap, and a lot of businesses fail or fall for it if they don't recognize who the rock stars are. And another thing is, here's another thing where Black people, we really need to start being conscious of some of this tokenism elevation, because your ass might be getting set up to fail. Because I noticed a lot of individuals, Black individuals, and I know some of them in the professional space personally, that were elevated to certain managerial positions in 2020 because they were Black. And their company was trying to virtue signal. So they moved their asses into this job, right? And these Black people geeking out the fact, I'm a director, I'm the vice president of this now, but you don't have vice president skills. And when you got your ass in that job, you realize that the amount of work that you have to do is not something that you were prepared for or ready to show up with. Now, some of these people are talking about they got set up to fail. Like, no, you were token. You bought into that tokenism shit of getting elevated because you're Black instead of you delivering. And now you're dealing with the token's folly, right? That's what's going on with Kamala Harris. She's dealing with the token's folly. And that's the one thing that Black people, as we assess our history, appreciate our history, we need to start appreciating and assessing the things that have made things go wrong in this particular segment of America. All right? Blacks buy into Black politicians that don't do shit for them. Right? We need to assess that in our Black history. I think it's very valuable. We got a lot of Black faces in DAs, attorneys, Congress people who have been grandfathered into these positions forever, like a Maxine Waters out in California. But when you look at this woman who has been in that district as that representative for 37 years, and then you look at the way that district looks like shit, then you start to question, is it really valuable for me to elect my representative because they look like me? And this is where Black people are failing. So my point is, I wanted to make with you guys is, I've had beef with Black History Month for years. All right. Or it's just never been important to me. It's always been redundant. It's never been exciting. And a lot of it is because they cover the usual post-slave, slave, civil rights people. And it's never been a progressive month like its original intention. And just based off of some of the comments here, people, and I think Talib Kweli has a documentary out in which he talked about Black History Month and how it's just it's so out of context. It's not even a focus on what it should be focused on, that it's just something that a lot of Black people, if they were really to admit it, they don't care about it. Like, they don't care about it. Like, if people were just to be real 100, a lot of Black people don't really pay attention to the fact in February that it's Black History Month. They may say, oh yeah, it's Black History Month, acknowledge that it's the month for Black history, but they ain't diving into Black history. They ain't doing nothing extra, because really the month and the purpose of the month has been just delivered so much out of context that Black people are tired of it. Like, they're just tired of it. So that was just a couple of points, We know why Black history exists, but I think that we really need to start accepting Black history as a part of American history. Black history is American history. Black American history is a fabric of American history. It really is. And we need to start accepting it as that. We also need to stop letting it play out as this time in which we reflect on past pains and transgressions and hardships and sprinkle in the little post-slave inventors. We even talk about their experiences out of context. We need to start our Black history heroes list need to be more than Thurgood Marshall, Harriet Tubman, anybody, Frederick Douglass, anybody post-slavery. These are great individuals to pick up on talking about their inspirations, right? I am very inspired by, as a Black intellectual, I'm very, very inspired by W.E.B. Du Bois. He inspires me. His writings inspires me. His writings give me a nice validation of some of the observations of Black American society that I have. Same way with Booker T. Washington, where some of their fundamental conservative ideas, if adopted by the Black community, would see a lot more success in the community than what we see right now. Slightly off topic, but did you hear about Whoopi saying that the Holocaust had nothing to do with race? You know what? I did hear Whoopi Goldberg, that conversation about her saying that the Holocaust was not about race, and I was listening to how she was cleaning up that argument, and I was listening to some of the commentators on Fox, and this is my and I'm not trying to say this is what Whoopi Goldberg meant. This is, I think that it was an ignorant comment, because you really should not, compare any, group, any atrocity to any other atrocity, right? But when I look at the Holocaust, right, I look at it as being about supremacy, right? Supremacy in terms of, an individual believing that, because Judaism is a faith, right? Jewish is a faith. Being Jewish is that's more faith based than race based, and I think a lot of people get that confused. It's like, Judaism is a faith, right? And I think where Whoopi was trying to say is, and I think in her cleanup, I got kind of a little clarity of what she was trying to say, where she was saying that Jewish people have white skin, and really, it wasn't about race because they all had white skin, but really a lot of Jewish people are like, well, no, it was about because Germans felt like they were inferior, that they were an inferior group. But I think, that argument, you could dive into that argument and kind of look at some of the things that Whoopi said and really dig down into some of the things that Whoopi said. And there could be some levels of understanding of what she was trying to say. However, Whoopi Goldberg don't stand on the things that she say. And I think that Whoopi Goldberg says a lot of things, cold facts that a lot of people think about, want to say, and then the minute the liberal media jump on her ass about something, then Whoopi is apologizing. I'm sorry, I look, my last name is Goldberg and my real name is Cheryl Johnson, so I'm not anti-Semitic. That's kind of how I looked at Whoopi Goldberg's cleanup. But I would say that if a non-hyper emotional individual were to dig down into what Whoopi was saying, you know what I mean? She was saying that she was trying to compare, I guess, race. I'm not sure if she was trying to compare maybe the plight of Black people to that of Jewish people by saying that, well, you don't really know if a person is Jewish, until they actually tell you Jewish, because there's no identifying marker of a Jewish individual versus any other, perceived white person until they tell you that they're Jewish, which I kind of agree with that. I'm not anti-Semitic at all, but we can't be so sensitive about perspectives that we can't look at things in a broader scope. If my neighbor is a Jewish man right now, or he says he's Jewish, his mother's Jewish or whatnot, but he looked like any other white boy that's walking around here that may be German. And I'm not trying to be racist, but that's just a matter of fact. I don't know an individual who has white skin is Jewish until they tell me that they are Jewish, right? But if I'm standing next to a person who is white skinned, I'm going to be that social contract of black. And they're going to be that social contract of white until they say, oh, I'm Jewish. You know? Semitic is a mixed black person. I be anti-Semitic is being anti-black. I think, when here's the thing about the arguments about anti-Semitism, right? Because really people will say that if you say anything about Jewish people, right, then you're anti-Semitic, right? Even if you, because I have a Jewish follower on LinkedIn, and she posted something about someone saying that that Jewish people run American media, and she said that that was an anti-Semitic remark, right? And so I just asked her. I said, hey, I just want to let you know I'm trying to broaden my perspective. Can you let me know why you believe that that this person saying that Jewish people run the American media is anti-Semitic, right? And and she really went into like, well, it's not true, it's not true, it's not true. And I'm like, but if you look at a lot of media executives, and that's just because Jewish individuals do go into the arts and sciences and all that good jazz, they do go into these fields, and so they do have a lot of media influence. But when you do look at a lot of these individuals, some of them do have Jewish backgrounds. So that's why people would conclude that. I don't think anybody is saying that, I don't think that it's an anti-Semitic statement. It could be a ignorant statement if it's not factual. If one were to assess the American journalism media space and determine that there are more non-Jews running American media than Jews, then I would say that that's more of a conclusion that that is a false statement versus it being anti-Semitic. But everybody has their sensitivity with certain things. I listened to what Whoopi Goldberg said. I listened to some of her sort of supporting statements or her backup cleanup statements. And it's like, okay, I see where you were going with that, Whoopi, but the whole comment was just out of place. It was just out of place, and I agree with one of the commentators. You really just don't want to compare stuff to the Holocaust or slavery. I mean, people are very, very sensitive about these points in history. They're a very horrible time. They were times of human genocide, which I do agree with Whoopi. It was a time of genocide, but the Holocaust definitely was about supremacy. It was definitely about supremacy and inferiority. And I think what Whoopi was trying to do is contrast that the Holocaust was about that, just like a lot of the Black issues that we see today is about supremacy versus inferiority. Parts of my ancestry, and I have a lot of Jewish grandparents. Here's the thing. I mean, I'm sure all of us got something of somebody in us. Like I believe that there are probably there's a lot of Black Jewish people running around here. There's a lot of white Jewish people running around here. I mean, Judaism is a faith, right? It's a faith. I don't Israeli is the nationality, right? Israeli, or some, whatever, Jewish land, like that would be the nationality. Judaism is a faith. When somebody say, I'm a Christian, right? I'm a Christian. If somebody said all Christians run American media, I'm not going to think that person is anti-Christian. But there are some Jewish people that think if you make the statement, all Jews run the media or Jewish people run the media, that's now an anti-Semitic statement. And they get very upset when people say that. And I still don't know why they get upset about it, because it's not an anti-Jewish statement. It's kind of like do most people have that influence? But anyways, off of that, Black History Month to me is a symbolism to Black people, guys, for good. But I think it intends to remind Black people of where they came from out of context. Black people, like I said, we need to take control over our narrative. And the way that we take control over our narrative is by leveraging Black History Month as an opportunity for us to highlight progressive Black America. Not the past pains and transgressions predominantly, but the progressions from the pains to the progress. And if we do that, we'll realize that there are a lot of examples of Black Americans beyond the Black struggle that we can highlight and be proud of. And if you are just tuning in, one of those Black Americans, if you had a super soaker or a nerf, just know that is patent technology by a Black American man. And it's a shame that all these years I grew up playing with those things that I never knew that I was enjoying the invention of a Black American. So tell your kids today, if they have a super soaker or a Nerf gun, that technology, that toy was created in the 80s by Lonnie George Johnson. Lonnie George Johnson, a Black Air Force veteran who's today a nuclear engineer, and he's also he was a propulsion engineer in NASA. He worked at NASA as a propulsion engineer when he was in service. That invention was by a Black man who made over $500 million, I believe, off of that invention. People still play with that invention today. It has brought many friends and families together, all from a Black American. So as we take in Black History Month, I encourage everybody to find a progressive Black American that you like, that's made moves in their own respective way, and make sure that your niece, your nephew, I don't care if you're Black, white, Puerto Rican, or Haitian, if you observe Black History Month, find yourself a progressive Black American, and share that person and their invention or that experience with somebody else so that they can broaden their experience about the Black American experience beyond slavery and civil rights. Because beyond that history of Blacks, we have progress. And I think that our children's list of Black history heroes should highlight that progress after civil rights as well. So I don't care if your kid does Colin Powell. I don't care if they do Oprah, Condoleezza Rice, Barack Obama, Ursula Burns, Lonnie George Johnson. Have them do a modern Black American so that they understand that Blacks have achieved beyond getting past struggle, pangs, and transgression. And that is my topic. Thank you, Tiff. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Marshall. Thank you, Sammy. I feel like I'm missing some names here, but thank you, everybody who tuned in. If you felt like this was a valuable discussion for other people to take in, please like, share, and engage this. We're going to talk that I have a conservative viewpoint about a lot of things, but I'm definitely connected with my community. I look at a lot of the issues in America and even the Black community from a psychological standpoint. And so a lot of my assessments are going to be based on kind of what some of these things are doing to us psychologically and the long-term psychological effects of us not owning our narrative, not having our history delivered in the right context, and us not inspiring our kids to be better. So thank you so much, everyone who tuned in. I'm about to get out of here. I think I made it right at the hour point, which I wanted to do. And I'm going to try to do some more of these. I know I've been lacking. I know I've been slacking. But y'all know I'm about that money. If it ain't about the money, don't be hitting me up, man. I ain't getting up. I got kids. And my kids, let me tell you, my kids are like inflation. They were like an additional inflation tax. Like my 4-year-old son eats like a grown man. My 7-year-old eats like a grown man. My 16-year-old eats like these kids, they eat. So I've been just working on my book, and I'm hoping to have that out and done. I'm trying to get it to an editor. I just been doing a lot of research, but the essence of my book, I am exploring Maslow's 5 hierarchy of needs, those 5 basic needs, psychology, safety, self-esteem, love, and self-actualization. And I argue in this book why Black Americans in the current modern American social contract will be limited and inhibited from achieving even the foundational needs that Maslow has defined because of social arguments, psychological conditioning from things like generational rhetoric, critical race theory, and ideas of Blackness that are portrayed in the mainstream. So we're talking about the age of slut rap, as Hip Hop Uncensored called it, where you got your Megan Thee Stallions who can't diversify herself as an artist because she kind of sold into the industry idea of what they wanted Black hip hop women to be talking about, which is nothing to everyday Black women in general, and making us look like criminals. So, I kind of go into some of these social inhibitors and why Blacks will continue to be inhibited from actualizing themselves to the extent that other groups are able to actualize themselves, because we're hung up on our history that is delivered out of context by individuals both within and out of our community. So I'm looking forward to getting that book dropped out to you guys soon. And I will catch you guys on the flip side. Great broadcast, a perfect example of why we need to see and hear you. Thank you, Marshall. And I'll definitely try to do one next week, depending on what's happening in the social space. This is 2022, so I definitely expect for it to be a hyper-polarized political year. I told my Black people, be on the look for those public lynchings. My Aunt Marie called it open season on niggas. That means when they can't get the Black vote, they're going to resort to inflaming Blacks by making sure they pick one of us off in a horrific fashion for the whole world to see, so that we can be inspired to vote a certain way. So just be on the lookout for all these Black exploitation campaigns by any party that is seeking to get the Black vote on anything other than policies that overall will benefits of Americans, specifically at-risk people of all colors. So my hour, about 3 minutes shy. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful work week. I will catch you guys on the next one. And thank you so much for tuning in. Take care. Bye.